Yes, I am sitting on my floor in my living room. This is the best place for light, and it's the quietest, and it's the best way to keep my phone plugged in because it's dying all the time. Okay, so hi. It's been a really long time since I have done anything like this. Some of you know that for like a hot second, I was trying to like get some kind of makeup YouTube lifestyle channel, and I quickly realized that is not the life for me. I don't want to continually record myself. I am way too busy, and also editing and then posting and then hoping that maybe YouTube will notice you so you can start getting paid for it out of the millions of other people that do the same thing. So I would say that I am a pretty open person. I would like to think that I am pretty open. Some might consider me an oversharer. I post often on Facebook and on Instagram, and it's not just for my like own self-pleasure, although I love seeing them pop up on my memories, but it's just to keep friends and family in the loop that truly care. And you know, I think sometimes my life is funny and my kids are funny and cute, and I don't know. I love being connected to as many people as Facebook has brought those people into my life. I enjoy being connected to people. I know we are all busy, and it's getting worse as my kids get older. So with that being said, there is one part of our life that has happened recently that I have not shared about. And, well, BJ and I had our second miscarriage this past fall. It happened in the end of October. It happened in October. We had our first miscarriage. Sage was 1.5, and I was about 7 or 8 weeks along. I wasn't even far enough to get an ultrasound, see the heartbeat, nothing like that. Just super positive pregnancy test is all I got. It was a hard miscarriage in the fact of the post-pregnancy symptoms. I had quite a few pregnancy symptoms. I like to tell people that I had after birth symptoms without the pleasure of having a baby in your arms. I think that's kind of where miscarriages suck, is that you still deal with like postpartum, but without a super cute baby to remind you that it's all worth it. So I did experience a lot of things after that. However, this miscarriage and this loss has been extremely different compared to our first, and which is why it has brought me to be open and to finally share about it. Oh, my heart is racing already just thinking about it, because it was just so drastically different than our first miscarriage. So bear with me as I like get super choked up, and just bear with me. Some of you know us fairly well. And if you do follow anything on my Instagram or my Facebook account, I was really open about Lane being our last baby. And I was ready for that, mentally prepared. I truly believe in this saying, you just know when you're finished giving birth. And I felt that chapter closing in. A couple of things, a couple of reasons why. It was by far my hardest pregnancy. I had to take progesterone in the very beginning for the first trimester. And my numbers, if you're familiar with progesterone, it basically helps keep your pregnancy. It's a hormone that you need before the placenta is created. And so I needed progesterone pretty badly. My numbers were very low, And we only knew that because of my first miscarriage. Once you experience a miscarriage, you get so much blood work drawn for each consecutive pregnancy after that. So Lane was difficult. I was really super sick in the beginning. I get gestational diabetes with my kids. So, and then I was busy. I had 2 kids on top of that. And I just truly felt that chapter closing. Like, I'm good. 3 pregnancies is good for me. So, long story short, a lot of people knew that this was it for us. And I think it's safe to say that when we found out that I was pregnant the summer following Lane's birth, Lane was born in November of 2016. That summer we found out that we were pregnant again. I was not happy. I wasn't. Lane was eight months old, I think. Oh my gosh, you guys, what a whirlwind of emotions to find out that you're pregnant with a baby, while already carrying a baby around. And so, of course, my pregnancy symptoms came flying in, and I had all of my blood work done. Like, in a hot second, I was seeing my OB again. And they even joked and said, "You're here again?" It was great. Great. So to bring us fast forward to my first ultrasound appointment, a lot of times, well, my first ultrasound appointment, I think I was officially 7 weeks. I had an ultrasound done, for sure was pregnant. We saw a baby blob. It wasn't much of anything, and I can't remember if there was a heartbeat or not yet. But I was officially 7 weeks at that appointment. And so I didn't get another appointment until I was 12 weeks. 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, I was 12 weeks by the time I was able to get in again. And at that 12-week appointment is when our lives took a huge shift. I had another ultrasound done, and it was done by my OB. And she looked at me and took a deep breath. And she said, "Okay, I am almost 100% certain that your baby has what is called a cystic hygroma." And all I knew was, this is not good. It's life-threatening. And I have to have more tests done immediately. And also, I was now being scheduled with maternal fetal medicine. My world changed so fast again. And long story short, because I could go into a ton of detail, we sat down with maternal fetal medicine. They gave us such a dire outcome. 1% of pregnancies this happens to. So cystic hygromas are extremely rare. And within that percentage, they almost all have some kind of chromosome disorder, which means, like, a good example is Down syndrome or Turner's syndrome. Those were like the top 2 among hundreds more that could be wrong. Or is it hundreds? I feel like that's stretching it. Maybe a dozen. So maternal fetal medicine gave us a ton of information in one sitting. We did as much research as we could on our own. In 24 hours from the OB appointment to maternal fetal medicine, we did a ton of research just so that we could be prepared with questions, and basically what to expect. And in the time of my 12-week appointment, I wasn't scheduled to see them again until 16 weeks. Unfortunately, with this kind of diagnosis with our pregnancy, there is absolutely nothing that can be done. It is a wait and see pregnancy. You can get blood work tests or blood work done, and I was going to get an amniocentesis done to determine what will happen if we make it full term, or even if we make it to birth, not even full term. There was a chance there I would have not even made it full term. To prepare ourselves for what was to come. So a cystic hygroma is basically a large cyst that was growing on the back of the baby's body, and it's filled with fluid, and no, it can't be drained, and no, there's nothing that can be done. What was more life-threatening was the possibility of having the chromosome disorder on top of it. So I could go into a lot of detail. I keep saying that. I want you to know that we know more, and a lot of things happened. But in between my 12 weeks and my 16 weeks, I ended up having an appointment at my 16 weeks with my OB first. And in my heart, I knew without a doubt that we had lost our baby. And to lighten the mood a little bit, it was another girl. We're really good at making girls. And all I can tell you is that a lot of praying happened between 12 weeks and 16 weeks. I went through a roller coaster of emotions, from happy to mad, angry, scared, terrified. So you can only imagine why this moment in our life, it felt like a moment. These months in our lives, from August to basically November, we kept most of this to ourselves. For one, we had to wrap around our head the fact that we were pregnant again. And that took a lot of time. And now, too, we were handed all of these scenarios of very scary. And I can't quite describe it to you, because it's one of those situations that you truly just don't know unless you've been through it. I can tell you that I have a couple of friends that are also open about losses that they've had. And there were a couple of times with the small group of people that knew about our loss, they were worried about keeping me around babies. And funny enough, I had like no hurt towards I had no feelings towards other infants and mothers who are pregnant, because my pregnancy wasn't purposeful. So my emotions were very different. I will say, however, that I really struggle. Not struggle is not a good word. My heart really pulls towards kids with disabilities, because in that short period of time, I cannot tell you how much like research and scenarios we went through in our heads. And I reached out to one of my greatest friends who has a son with disabilities, and just picked her brain. And I just kept saying to her, you are gonna have to teach me, you're gonna have to show me, you're gonna have to help me. And it was so encouraging. I've always had a heart for kids with disabilities just because of who I'm surrounded by. I have some really incredible people in my life that have kids with disabilities. Now, that's my trigger, especially kids with Down syndrome because that was probably going to be us, or Turner syndrome. And I've always loved that community, but now my heart's like super duper in love because I know that my little girl was probably going to be in that same place. And I can't describe to you the difference between losing an infant at 7 weeks and losing them at 16 weeks. Before that appointment, I decided that at my 16-week appointment, if we were to make it through it and her heartbeat was still there and we got another ultrasound with maternal fetal medicine, I decided that I would make the official announcement because we realized that we're gonna need help. I was showing like crazy, and we're gonna need a community behind us, and I can't keep it to myself. And then we lost her. It was just so fast. So I share because, well, I have one big reason why I want to share. If you feel like I have totally shut you out all of a sudden, or that I've been more quiet or more kept to myself, more closed in, whatever, you are totally sensing that correctly. It took a really long time for me to not only be accepting of the pregnancy, but then we went through a whirlwind of doctors and emotions, and I had to have 2 surgeries, and then because of the miscarriage, and then we went on vacation in the midst of all of that, and then holidays happen, winter happens, everybody hibernates during winter, and I am now in recovery mode. Not recovery physically. I went through a pretty drastic hormone shift. I can't describe it, but basically my body went from 0 to 100 in 3 days because of the loss. And that just, if you're not a woman and you're watching this, which for one, I'm super impressed, but and if you've not been through a pregnancy loss, just the shift in hormones that you go through is just insane. And I would say that it was worse this time than it was my first time because I was much further along in my pregnancy this time. So my body was just like freaking out. Like, this isn't what's supposed to be happening. You're supposed to be still hibernating a baby. Like, so here I am. I'm here and I am trying to recover friendships, or just to remind myself to not hibernate, to not hide, to not keep to myself, which is unlike my character. I would say in the last 10 years, this is not normal for me. I would be considered the extrovert. I would be considered the one that, has people over, and I haven't done that. I think it's been easily a year since we've had someone over for dinner here at our house, and it's probably been even longer than that. So I am trying really hard to get out of that habit, which is why I'm sharing. I feel like, okay, I am that person. I know that this is not for everyone. I know that sharing really hard things is not for everyone. I know I have friends that have had losses and that I've never, ever, ever shouted it to the world. If you want to call Facebook the world, let's just call Facebook the world. They have not shouted it. They have only told people that are close to them. And I get it. It's extremely personal. And even so, like when I need to like tell people why I haven't started at the CrossFit gym that my husband partnered with to open, I tell people it's for medical reasons. I don't jump the gun and say, "Oh, because we've lost a baby." Like I don't do that. I feel like I was wanting to share that just on a more personal level. And there have been several things that have come up, I would say, in the last month or so that has kind of like nudged me to share. I have tried to share this story. I think I'm recording this for the 5th time, and then I was even considering just like typing it all out. But I'm way too chatty, and I'm also the type of person that if I were to click on someone's blog and notice how like wordy it is, I wouldn't read it. I wouldn't. I'm just being honest. Like I just don't have patience like that. And I wanted to make sure that my heart was being shared, and I know for a fact that reading words does not do that. So I'm sharing, one, because if you think I went off the face of the earth, I did. And 2, because I want to be there for someone else. This was hard. This was really hard. And it's funny because, you guys, I can't. This is the reason why I've recorded. I get choked up so quick. 2 weeks ago, I was texting my mom and I was just like, man, I'm in such a funk and I just can't snap out of it. And I was really feeling heavy hearted and just kind of really, And finally, my mom texts me back and she goes, Cherith, is this your due date? Was this the week you were due? And I thought about it really quick, and sure enough, it was my due date. It was my time. And you guys, just like that, I get it. I get what people feel when certain times come up. Certain times of the year are really hard for people that have lost loved ones, and I cannot describe very well what I'm feeling because I just can't. But all I know is that I may not have wanted her at first, but I so greatly miss her now. And I feel a gap. I know I physically have 3 children, but in my heart I have 4. I feel like my house feels empty. I don't want to be pregnant again, just for lots of selfish reasons. And I have no shame in admitting that. I think some women are so courageous and brave and accepting of having more than 2 or 3 pregnancies, like having 4 or 5, 6, 7. I just think that's so amazing that they have that power and strength to birth that many kids. My body, I loved being pregnant once the sickness had passes, but my body just didn't really like it as much as I had hoped. And I never, unfortunately, it's not in my genetics to like super ship up into shape and lose a ton of weight. And I have been at my heaviest last summer. Before I found out I was pregnant, I was at my absolute heaviest. And then getting pregnant and then losing the baby, I was just like, my body was just a hot mess. So knowing that, it's not about the weight. I get that. I understand that. And that's a whole different like topic, but at my age and the way that I was headed, I just didn't feel good. Like, it, not like a walking, like, I can't describe it. I physically did not feel good. It wasn't just the fact that my jeans didn't fit. It was like my knees hurt and certain foods were making me sick and I couldn't walk up the stairs without getting winded. And so it's just like selfishly, I don't want to get pregnant again. I have been working out and I'm losing weight and I'm in better shape now than I was just 5 months ago. So all I can say is that it is complete selfish reasons why I will not get pregnant again. It's really hard to end these kind of videos. Thank you for sitting with me for so long and watching me cry and sit in front of my couch. And please don't worry and don't feel bad for us. I think it was intentional that I just could not pull myself together to do this any sooner. I think I needed to see the end of it. I needed to get past certain points. And also I needed to get healthier. I am very willing to sit down with anyone that wants to just talk about, you know, how to recover after pregnancy and after a loss. It's really hard. It's hard mentally and it's extremely hard physically. And I am no pro, but I'm getting better and I have a really great group of people around me that are supporting me, and I have a really cool coach that I work out under, and he has been super patient with me, but he also pushes me. And I just want you all to know that there is a light at the end of it. There's a light and there's happiness, and I am finally starting to feel like myself. Like, it's been a long road. It's been 8 months of really trying to get myself back, and not just my physical self, but my happy self, my outgoing self, the Cherith that people assume that I am, I guess is the best way that I could put it. To have friends again. I really shut myself out from people, and I am telling you, that is a hard habit to break. It is really easy to be a hermit crab. It's really easy because I don't have to say anything to anybody. I can just keep to myself and keep my children alive. That's the life. But it's lonely, and so I'm trying to not do that. It's really hard, but we're doing it. We're doing it. So this was really long. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. That's all I got. Bye for now.